It wasn't the wedding photos that broke me. Not the ring that looked suspiciously like the one I gave her 2 years ago. Not even the cheesy caption she posted, "Finally found my forever." It was her smile. That smug, overly sweet grin, the one she wore every time she thought she'd won. That's what did it. Just 1 week. 7 days after the ink on our divorce papers had barely dried, she remarried. And she didn't just quietly move on. No, she made a whole performance of it. Tagged me in the announcement, made sure the entire world knew she had healed, and finally found a real man. In the photo, she was dressed in white again. He stood next to her, arm around her waist like he owned her. And there he was, the man she left me for. Or at least the man she thought she got away with. And I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I recognized him. He wasn't just some random rebound or charming stranger. He was a ghost from our past, a name I hadn't heard in years. And I knew exactly who he was. We were high school sweethearts, the kind of story people romanticize in novels. She was drawn to recklessness. I was the one always pulling her back from the edge. We lived on chaos and called it passion. At least, that's what I believed. I gave her everything. My time, my trust, my last name. But she was always chasing more. More attention. More drama. More people applauding her shine. Still, I loved her. When she said she needed space, I gave it to her. When she complained I was working too much, I scaled back. When she sobbed that no one understood her, I sat in silence, absorbing her fury like rain soaking into stone. But nothing I did was ever enough. It all started to crumble on a Tuesday. She was in the shower. Her phone lit up. Normally, I never snooped, but something pulled at me that night. A message popped up. "Can't wait till he's out of the picture." Right then, I knew. I didn't scream. Didn't confront her. Didn't even cry. I watched. She thought she was clever, sneaking off to late-night yoga sessions, coming back drenched in guilt and reeking of unfamiliar cologne. One night, I followed her. He picked her up in a sleek black BMW, the kind that screams arrogance. I took photos, clear shots, time-stamped, even grabbed the license plate. The full dossier. Then I walked back home, uncorked a bottle of bourbon, and drank until the burns stopped hurting. That was the night I stopped being her husband. I became something else entirely. Over the next 4 months I planned. Quietly. Calculated. I froze our joint accounts, moved assets into places she couldn't touch, sold properties I knew she'd beg for in the split. I hired a private investigator, not to find him, I already knew him, but to dig into her. Cheating makes you careless. She left a digital trail so thick she could have choked on it. Emails, hotel reservations, even a burner phone under her maiden name. I saved everything. So when she finally asked for a divorce, I didn't hesitate. I signed the papers with a calm she mistook for defeat. Let her believe it was her idea. That she had won. She didn't request alimony. She thought she was walking away with half my life. But she had no idea I'd already taken the rest. And him. His name was Daniel Cruz. Senior year prom king. Her high school fantasy during one of our rough patches. Back then, he was smooth, athletic, and dumber than drywall. People change, right? Not Daniel. Turns out, he racked up 2 DUIs, had a fraud charge pending, and a reputation for bouncing between women like a bad check. A real man. Indeed. When I saw their wedding photos, her in that second-hand dress, him in a cheap tux, both beaming like lottery winners, I felt a flicker of pity. Almost. But revenge isn't a single swing. It's an orchestra. Step 1. An anonymous tip to the Securities and Commodities Enforcement. Daniel had been gambling client money on shady crypto schemes. I sent in a thick file, screenshots from social media, publicly available records, plus a few damning extras courtesy of my PI. Within days, They launched an investigation. Step 2. I mailed Daniel's employer all the proof for my divorce file, photos, messages, dates, sealed and anonymous. He was fired by the end of the week. Step 3. Her family. Deeply conservative. Strict. Obsessed with appearances. I mailed them a flash drive in an unmarked envelope. The label read, Her Truth. It contained everything. Photos, videos, timeline of the affair. They haven't spoken to her since. Step 4. I waited. 3 weeks after their wedding, she called me. Blocked number. I let it ring to voicemail. Her voice cracked halfway through. He's not who I thought he was. Please, I just need to talk. I didn't call back. A week later, she sent me an email. She said she didn't technically cheat, that feelings are complicated, and that Daniel had changed. I archived it. Yesterday, I ran into them at the grocery store. She looked thinner, worn out, hollow. Daniel was behind her, yelling into his phone, something about missing money. She saw me, tried to smile. I laughed. Not cruelly, just knowingly. That was all I gave her. She thought she was escaping something, thought that running back to an old flame would lead to something new. But she never learned the difference between freedom and exile. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it out of love for the version of myself she tried to erase, the man who gave her everything. Now she's stuck in a fantasy built on lies, married to a man made of broken promises and pending charges. She got exactly what she chased. And me. I sleep like a child. Because justice doesn't always wear a robe. Sometimes, it whispers in silence, watching the people who betrayed you dig their own graves, while all you did was hand them the shovel.